And so now I will work in best groups some in the schools to get to know the kids and what their losses are, because I feel like that fuels my passion to get out and talk about Heart of the Cumberland. And like all nonprofits, like everything in life, you have to have funds. And I like to have fun, but I have to raise funds. But that is what God called me to do. So we have so many wonderful causes in this community. We have this wonderful community. And there's lots of nonprofits. I find most people want to give to something bigger than they are. And they have a lot of choices here. And when I go to talk to a potential donor, an organization, about sponsoring an event or being a donor, I give them, let them know they need to follow their heart and what God's leading them to. There's nonprofits that are really special to people for all kinds of reasons. But we do know that we want all people to know we're there, what we do, and that we do appreciate donors, volunteers. We couldn't make it. We have 5 people on our staff, and that's so many wonderful volunteers. I'm so excited that next year we're celebrating our 15th anniversary. Thank you. And it's just kind of, I don't know what you call this, but our anniversary is 2/24/24. So that's 3 2s and 2 4s. I don't know what that means, but it's kind of neat. The first peer support group actually happened in February on the 24th in 2009. And so with the 15th anniversary, you're going to hear, I hope, and let me know if you see us on a billboard or you hear us talking on the radio, because I'm going to be out doing a lot. So this is a time and a reason to let everyone know that may not know, or a reminder that we're here. We charge, there's no charge. It's another reason, we really need to raise funds, because we have this great curriculum and 11-week sessions, and people come and they're in the group that helps them the most, depending on what their grief is, who they lost, and there's no charge. And so that is what I do. I'm glad to have this opportunity. Thank you all for being here, because I love to talk about it. I'm very transparent and a sincere person, and I could not say the things I do without the passion and without the knowing that we serve a good purpose, because everybody grieves. Everybody grieves. And we want to love on those people. And we want them to be with other people grieving that will help them, and they know that they're not alone. And Michaela's going to talk next. And as I said, when I volunteered, there were these young mothers who lost babies or young children. And my friend here, this wonderful person, has experienced that herself. And now she is over the best groups. And we're so thankful to have her on staff. So Michaela, take it away.
Well, thank you, Diane. My name is Michaela Ramsey, and how I heard about Heart of the Cumberland was last year. My husband and I lost our 8-week-old son, Aaron, and that is what brought me to Heart of the Cumberland. People reached out and they said, hey, there's this group for pregnancy and infant loss. I was, kind of isolated, staying at home and not getting out. And honestly, for those of you who have lost someone, you can probably relate to the feeling of loneliness after that loss that no one can understand unless they've been through a similar situation. Well, thankfully, Heart of the Cumberland realizes that, and so they offer groups so that you can go in and sit down with other moms who have lost a baby and be able to be transparent and help each other through that. So for me, it was just very healing, and from the moment I got there until the moment I left, I knew that I wanted to be a part of this organization. And so in March, I joined the team as a new Best Groups Program Manager, where I am now able to work with kids in the schools and let them know that what they are going through, that they are not alone, that they are not alone in their circumstances. So Heart of the Cumberland is actually partnered with Putnam County Schools, where last year we served over 500 students just through the Best Groups program. Now, that is a true partnership with the schools. We have 8 team members that are actually Putnam County paid employees, and they are the main leaders, facilitators for the school groups. And we really couldn't do that without them, and then our volunteers that volunteer their time each week to be a co-facilitator in the schools. But we're super thankful for the schools and for their involvement in wanting this program in their schools. But that's how we like to call it's 8 of them. We like to call them the Elite 8. And they are just fantastic to work with. And they make everything we do possible, so it's great having them. But Best Group stands for Be Each Other's Support Team, and it is peer support for children experiencing grief and loss. So when we first started in 2011, we were focused specifically on kids who had experienced loss due to death. Well, in the schools, we quickly realized that they were experiencing loss in far many other ways. So now there's about 10 different categories that allows a child to be a part of Best Groups. That can be through death, divorce, foster care, parents that are incarcerated. We actually had a group this last time that every one of them had a parent that was either incarcerated or a caregiver that was incarcerated. We've got several living with grandparents, several living with great-grandparents here in Putnam County. Deportation, deployment, really any way where a child is experiencing a significant loss. And how children are referred to Best Groups is like the school counselor typically is aware of their situations, and they'll say this child needs to be in Best Groups. Or sometimes a parent that knows of Best Groups will contact the school and say, I want my child in Best Groups. Teachers, even a lot of times all of the kids really want to come back to Best Groups, but in certain situations if a child needs to continue Best Groups, and they will even come back and do it another time. But that's how we get the kids. But we have 2 programs, which includes Exploring My Feelings, which is grades 2nd through 4th. And that is more of like an artsy journal for the kids, because of course we start so young at 2nd grade. A lot of them don't have the written skills to be able to, write out how they're feeling about their loss. So they're able to build things and to express that through art. And then we have Navigating This Maze of Emotion, and that is through 5th grade and up. And it is more of like a journal type thing where they write out what they feel, and it is a deeper curriculum. We always say, our facilitators always say that so often they leave feeling like they got just as much out of it as the kids did. And so those materials were developed organically in groups. And the topics and activities were tested and tried from 2011, which is when we started, to 2018. And in 2018, we had a lot of counties reaching out to us saying, hey, we want Best Groups in our school. So we actually started forming all of the materials together and created the journals and a facilitator guide so that we could send this to other counties and help other counties have this program in their schools as well. But the books are built around 11 weeks of lessons, each focused on a different heart message. So, for instance, one is, I am not alone, I might get knocked down, but I can get back up again, I can achieve goals, and so on. But we encourage a facilitator and a co-facilitator in each group, and we have students we normally have around 5 or 6 students in each group. We try to keep it somewhat small so that we typically get 45 minutes to an hour with these kids. So we want them to have time to be able to talk if they want to talk. But now different counties do it in different ways. What's worked best for us is offering the program during the school hours, during their encore classes. We've also done some after-school programs, and that's worked well as well. But our curriculum is really just dealing with the loss and the emotions related to that loss. So we provide these kids a safe space to come in and to be open and able to talk about that loss, as well as the vocabulary, especially with our littles, of how to express what they're feeling and how to do that in a healthy way, as well as giving them that peer support. Because after 11 weeks, unfortunately, we have to leave, but we leave them with each other. And that's what we want, is to leave them with a group of kids that they can go to and talk to. But the books are created really to be a super easy tool. The kids are given their own journal that they get to take home with them at the end, and then you have the facilitator guides. And the facilitator guides are laid out where you can just sit down, open the guide, and lead a lesson. It tells you what materials you need, how to even say things, and how to talk about the conversations you need to have during that lesson. It's really laid out very well that you can just pick it up and go with it. But now our volunteers that are in the schools, we do still have them come and do a full day of training with us. And in that training, it's normally like 9 to 2:30. But we have them sit down and they go through each lesson of the book with a very experienced facilitator who's done it in the schools for quite some time. And that way, whenever they finish that day, they feel confident to take it back and just run with it. We have a lot of counties that come in from outside of our county that'll come to these trainings, and they feel confident to take the materials back to their own communities and implement it in whatever way works best for them. And so it's just a fun day of training, and we have lunch and we have a good time with each other. And but you also have the opportunity to have more. If you've got questions, we can go through things like that. But best groups here in Putnam County are considered a Tier 2 intervention and a positive childhood experience that can help mitigate adverse childhood experiences. Additionally, some consider it a prevention program in light of connections between grief and substance use. But by far the most common feedback that we get from kids are that they understand that they're not alone in their circumstances. But if you're interested in learning more about best groups, because of course we only have a little bit of time today, you can always call our office and talk to me directly, or you can go to our website that's journeyofhopetn.org. But I have to share, now best groups is not the only way that we help kids. Whenever I first came on board, my first big event coordinating was our second annual grief camp for middle schoolers who had lost someone due to death. And so we did that in July, and we had 9 kids come and spend the entire day with us. And I happened to choose the hottest day of the year, but thankfully it turned out to be fantastic. The kids, it's called Discovering Hope Camp, and what we hope that these kids come is if they come in feeling hopeless, that they leave feeling hopeful about their journey forward. And we do many things with them. We had archery this year. We do water games, which is great for the heat. And we do like arts and group times, and the kids can come and just be transparent about their loss and talk about their person. And it ends up being a fantastic time. But my favorite thing from camp that we did was we had a splatter painting. And what that looked like was each child was given a white canvas and then different colors of paint representing different emotions. And then they were given a paintbrush that they could dip into the paint and then sling that onto the canvas, expressing their feelings throughout their grief. And it was a very messy activity, if you're wondering. But, grief is messy. So it ended up just all working together. And as I watched each child look at their canvas after we had told them about what we were doing, and then carefully picking colors, I noticed one little boy specifically immediately pick up his yellow paint and remove it, setting it to the side. Now, yellow represented happiness or joy, and then he proceeded to pick up the blue paint, which you can imagine represents sadness. He popped the lid off and just dumped it all over his canvas, completely covering it in blue. And then he continued to pick up other little colors and add, and he eventually made his way back to the yellow, where he put little dots all over the top of his canvas. As each child finished, they were able to look at that canvas, see all of the colors mixed together, and understand that during grief, it is okay to feel different emotions, that they don't just have to be sad, they can still have moments of happiness and have fun, and that's okay, that's normal. But camp really just offers a safe space for kids to come and to have fun and to express their feelings throughout their grief and leave knowing that they're also not alone. One of my favorite parts was honestly at the end of the day watching all of the kids run and hug each other by, and that was just so rewarding for all that we had done that day, and it was amazing. But again, our heart is really to just help kids and reach as many kids as we can. But now let Kim tell some more about our community groups.
Thank you, Michaela, so much. I love if you've heard today. Not only do we work at Heart of the Cumberland, we have our own stories, and that's what Heart of the Cumberland does. It creates a space that not only the group members that come, but the people that are our staff members and the volunteers. It's just a place that you do realize, whether you're a child, a teen, or an adult, that you don't have to go through grief by yourself. You're not alone. And that's so important. Our culture sometimes doesn't do that very well for grievers. But for me, I came to work administratively with Heart of the Cumberland in 2012. I would not have been one of those people that called and said, yes, I'd like to be a part of a peer support group. I just wasn't made up that way. But through working there initially administratively for a few years, I learned a lot about the program. And then I took some time off. My mother actually had vascular dementia, and we cared for her as a family for several years. And then when I came back to Heart of the Cumberland, I started managing the peer support groups for the community side. And it was really there that I was able to process some of my own grief that I had not done so yet. So it really is an incredible way to give your own grief a voice. Grief needs a voice. Something happens between where you are in your mind and thoughts that you have, and then when you actually are able to speak to your grief, it is very powerful. And like I mentioned, our culture sometimes doesn't allow us to do that in community settings, even with our friend group. Sometimes it's just not available. So for the last 15 years, as Diane said, we've been able to remain flexible to the needs of our community and grow in that way. As Michaela mentioned, we have that pregnancy and infant loss group. We also have groups for other bereaved moms that have maybe older children. We have widows focus groups. We have men's only focus groups. We have a caregivers group. So, that's everything on the community side is loss due to the death of a loved one. Whereas in the schools, they're able to meet the needs of other types of losses. But on the community side, it is loss due to the death of a loved one, except for the caregivers group that we now have. And that kind of came through my own experience of caring for my mom and realizing that, my world got really small. And I had friends that would say, you might want to look into maybe joining a support group. And I was like, well, I don't have time to go to the grocery store. I don't know how I would join a peer support group. So our caregivers group is now virtually. You can let us know your email. We can send you a link, and it's a Zoom call. So people have come with different situations of caregiving, and we've just been able to walk through and journey together that way, and it's been very, very powerful. So we also have groups in our community groups for all ages. So usually weekly, on Tuesday nights throughout the year, we have groups for children, teens, and adults. Our facilitators are all volunteers. There's no staff that lead the groups. It's all volunteer-led peer support groups. Most of those folks have their own grief story that they're sharing in group. But we also train our volunteer facilitators. Usually you can come to a group, and if you're deciding you wanted to be a facilitator, you could come and be a part of a group as a shadower, co-facilitator. And then we do have trainings throughout the year where you come for it's about a 6-hour training on a Saturday, and just learn what a facilitator does. And really, it's really being a friend in a group that can listen effectively and just keep those parameters in a group setting. So we do that throughout the year as well. There are other things we do besides our peer support groups for the community. Actually, tomorrow night we'll be at the art jam for our group members, and we do keepsake ornaments. It's a grief art expression, I call it. We also do another grief art expression component is pebble art. Before each of our groups start in the spring and the fall, we'll do an art day where we sit down. Everybody has a canvas that's 8.5 by 11, flat white canvas. We've got all this all the pebbles, different sizes spread out with bark and twine and pine cones and things. You can create a family with pebble art. You can create a tree, a heart, anything like that. So it's just an icebreaker for people to come in and do an art project, like you guys have done before this group started, or for this time started. But we offer that a couple of times a year. We also have bereaved parents retreats. We partner with the ministry called While We're Waiting, and they come to our town. They also have peer support or bereaved weekends all over the nation. They do come to us once a year, and we offer a bereaved parents retreat weekend. We also have a bereaved moms retreat the week before Mother's Day, just to prepare those moms for what's coming the following week, which is very challenging. We are going to have a candlelight memorial. That's coming up still, this coming Saturday, December the 16th. And that's for our community this year. We're very thankful to be able to offer that for the community. So if you have lost a loved one in your family and you want to come, you can come and hear special speaker, special music, and actually participate in a candlelight memorial ceremony where we'll read the names of your loved ones. You'll have a candle that you'll be able to take home with you. You light it, there's a memorial table, and it's really just a very powerful, special time to remember your loved one. So another thing that we do at Heart of the Cumberland is, like Diane said, everything we do is free of charge. And in Putnam County, we also partner with area local churches or agencies that want to have peer support groups, in their own church or agency. The Senior Citizen Center here in Cookeville has a widows group there. And then some area churches like Washington Avenue Baptist Church was our first church to come and want to partner with us. We also have groups at Life Church, The River, Hope Church. And so what happens is if you know of your own church or an agency that would like to provide peer support groups, we offer that training free of charge if you're in Putnam County. You can come to that facilitator training, and then we'll actually provide materials for your groups, like the curriculum that Michaela talked about for the children and the teens. We also have Anchored in Hope adult curriculum as well. And so those 11-week groups that we do in the spring and the fall, you're going through a journal, you're writing down your thoughts, and then that's something that you can take and look back at and realize how you've moved forward and grown, and that's our goal for people. We're never going to get over losing a loved one. Our groups don't fix anybody or anything, but we do provide just a safe space, confidential space for you to move forward, meet some other folks that really become lifelong friends, and hopefully gain some tools that you'll take for the rest of your life that'll help you grieve well. So that's about all I had. We wanted to allow time for some questions, if you had any, for us about anything.
But one thing, to contact us, we have a website that's heartofthecumberland.org.
Yes,
Okay.
very good.
And our phone number, Michaela?
Hold on.
Huh?
Yeah, it's 931-525-2600. You can contact us Monday through Thursdays from 9 to 3 are our office hours. Visit us, come by and talk to us individually. That helps, because getting out of the car to come into our doors, as Michaela said, she's done that. Mm-hmm. It's not easy, we get that.
Tell us your location again.
So 25 West Broad Street. Mm-hmm. It's in the West Town Center, right on the west side. And we have parking in the back or on Broad Street if you're brave enough to do that.
Suite 11 on the second floor.
Mm-hmm. Thank you guys so much. Thank you for this opportunity. We really appreciate it.
We like having you here. Okay, so does anybody have any general questions that you think would be good for the general public before we turn off the recording? Okay, so remind us again, you're in the schools. You also partner with churches and other organizations. Most of your peer groups deal with loss of some sort, but you also have the caregivers, which is something also you do.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, that's great. And no fees involved or anything
No
like
fees
that.
involved. Everything's free of charge.
Okay. Well, if you're interested in this service, we would love for you to contact them. We're going to end the recorded portion of today's program now. And here in the library, we are going to continue talking. If you like this and would like to see what else we have going on at the library, look at our website at pclibrary.org. Thank you.